Maureen here from the VPP. Let's talk today about human trafficking. This is a disclaimer that some of the content we cover today could be triggering for some of you and may provoke strong emotions, reactions, and realizations to your current way of thinking. If you are feeling triggered, it's okay. There's help available. At the end of this presentation, I'll provide you with a list of community resources that can help support you further. If you're feeling triggered, please step away from the computer, take some time, protect your mental health, and reach out to someone who can help. Let's start with the question, what is human trafficking? According to Public Safety Canada, the definition of human trafficking involves the recruitment, transportation, harboring, and/or exercising control, direction, or influence over a person's movements in order to exploit them, usually through sexual exploitation or forced labor. It's described as modern-day slavery, and it is a crime in Canada under the Criminal Code. According to the Canadian Centre to End Human Trafficking is often referred to as a low-risk, high-reward activity. This is because much of this crime occurs behind the scenes and is difficult to detect or investigate, resulting in low conviction rates worldwide. Also, a human trafficking victim can be exploited over and over again for the financial benefit of their trafficker, making this a very profitable crime. The UN estimates that approximately $32 billion US is generated annually for its perpetrators. There are 4 types of human trafficking, which include sex trafficking, forced labor, domestic servitude, and forced illegal activities. But the most widely known type is sex trafficking, and that's mainly what we'll focus on today. Human trafficking can sometimes seem like a foreign issue or something that happens abroad, but it is a domestic issue, and it happens right here in Canada to women and girls every single day. Barrie itself is considered a hub for human trafficking based on its proximity to the 400 corridor. Barrie's rate of human trafficking is 2.2 times higher than the national average. Forced labor is any type of work or service that someone is forced to do against their will under threat of punishment. Forced illegal activities is the same idea, except what they're being made to do is also illegal. Although forced labor can occur in any sector, it's popular among agriculture and fishing, construction, mining, manufacturing, processing and packaging, and prostitution. Examples of forced illegal activities could be begging, stealing, drug dealing, or smuggling. According to the Canadian Centre to End Human Trafficking, domestic servitude is a type of forced labor trafficking in which victims are forced to clean houses, do laundry or other domestic chores, care for children or elderly family members, and are often called upon to be available at all times, day or night. They are either not paid or paid very little for the work that they do. Victims of domestic servitude often work as nannies or maids. Traffickers will sometimes hold on to personal identification papers or travel documents in order to limit freedom. Sexual exploitation is the attempted or actual abuse of a position of power, trust, or vulnerability for sexual purposes, and it includes, but is not limited to, profiting monetarily, socially, or politically from the sexual exploitation of another. Sexual exploitation and sex trafficking is often what we think of when we think of human trafficking. It's happening right here in Canada, and the target is often young girls, although young boys can be targeted also. Although you may feel like you or your friends may never be a victim of human trafficking, and we hope that you're right, it's always worth it to learn about these situations and when and how it happens. Young people, teens, and young adults are the most vulnerable age group, with 13 to 16-year-olds being targeted most often for sex trafficking. Any sex or gender can become a victim of human trafficking. Indigenous women and girls are also disproportionately more at risk than other populations. A 2016 public safety report indicates that while Indigenous women and girls make up only 4% of the Canadian population, they make up roughly 50% of human trafficking victims. Temporary foreign workers coming to Canada looking for a new life also often fall victim to human trafficking. It's important to remember that, like abuse or any other social justice issue, human trafficking can happen to anyone, regardless of age, race, gender, class, ethnicity, or nationality. Recruitment strategies vary across the country and are different in each situation. It is said that the majority of human trafficking victims knew their recruiter. Traffickers are smarter than we think. They identify a need that you have and pretend to be helpful and supportive, and then secure control by providing that need. Traffickers prey on low self esteem and vulnerability. They then manipulate and exploit you through a process called grooming and love bombing. Sometimes human trafficking can start out as thinking that you're being offered a job that's going to pay you lots of money. Traffickers will shower you with gifts and affection and give you everything you want and need without asking for it. They will then convince you that if you really love and care for the person, that you'll do what they're asking of you in order to pay them back for all the help, support, and gifts you've been given. Another strategy for recruitment is to get you addicted to certain drugs, making you dependent on the drugs and the person providing them to you. Traffickers are often part of a larger organized crime group, although you may not know it at the time. Traffickers rarely work alone. A trafficker won't look like a stereotypical bad guy. They'll present themselves as a person that you always wanted to meet. This is known as a Romeo pimp or a white knight. A Romeo pimp will convince you that they want you to be their life partner and that they're in love with you, and their goal is for you to fall in love with them as well. They'll appear very romantic and shower you with gifts like expensive clothes and jewelry. The bond that the Romeo pimp creates will use your trust and love for them in order to manipulate you into doing things like performing sexual acts for their financial benefit. A white knight is someone who comes to sweep you off your feet or help you escape from a situation that you may want to get away from. Traffickers will disguise themselves as your boyfriend or partner or a close friend. Traffickers and recruiters can be male or female. Let's talk a bit about the behavior of recruiters and how you might recognize their tactics. They may come on very strongly and offer you things that seem too good to be true, like easy work for high pay. They may make you believe that you're in a relationship. If the trafficker or recruiter is female, they may take on more of a caretaker or motherly role and offer you love, support, and protection. They may say that they love you and make you believe it in order to exert control over you. They'll use this love in order to manipulate you into doing things that maybe you don't want to do in order to prove your love to them. They may offer opportunities to you and say that you have to agree to them on the spot, and otherwise threaten to take away that opportunity. A good red flag for employment opportunities is that the details will be very vague, such as the location, the terms of employment, and the place or company name of employment. They may also shower you with expensive gifts like jewelry and clothing, or take you to expensive restaurants or big parties in order to make you want to participate in a luxurious lifestyle. Other behaviors that recruiters and traffickers might exhibit are isolation, denying you contact with your friends and family and attempting to isolate you from your social network. They may also try to control you by constantly checking in on you and denying you access to your finances. They may also make you do things that are outside of your comfort zone, such as performing sexual acts for friends. They may also show signs and characteristics of being a dangerous person, such as attempting to control your movement and behaviors, showing extreme jealousy, lashing out or delivering punishment for noncompliance, and being verbally, emotionally, or physically abusive. They may also use threats or displays of violence in order to create a culture of fear. And they may also provide you with alcohol or substances that could be hard for you to get your hands on otherwise. This allows your trafficker to gain control over you, as you will then be dependent on both the substance and them to get you the substance once addicted. So now you may be wondering, where does this happen? These are common places of recruitment. Recruitment can also take place through employment ads that are not specified. It's particularly easy for traffickers to con you online, where they can say or show anything to convince you to meet them in real life. Traffickers prey on vulnerability, and they target vulnerable populations, making group homes and shelters common places for recruitment. There are various control methods that a trafficker will use in order to maintain power and control over you. These include the use of physical force or intimidation, instilling fear through physical or sexual violence, controlling your basic needs, such as when you eat, when you sleep, or receive medical care, withholding ID and important documents, especially in cases of forced labor victims, threatening you, your family, or loved ones, or threatening to expose things that you've done, isolating you from friends, family, and the outside world, addiction to substances as a means of control, debt bonding, saying things like, "You owe me," or "Look at all that I've done for you," and fueling feelings of guilt and shame, causing a trauma bond in which you feel sympathetic towards the trafficker or feel that you don't deserve any better. Many times, human trafficking victims don't even know that they're victims or that there's help available. These are some signs and indicators that you may recognize in someone who is being trafficked. Fear, anxiety, depression, signs of physical abuse like marks, cuts, or bruises, and poor health with no medical attention are all clear indicators of human trafficking. They may lead a secret life and be very private about who they spend time with, what they do in their spare time, who their partner is, and where they live. They may disappear, go missing, or move around a lot, and change their contact information and telephone numbers frequently. Becoming socially disconnected with no communication is also an indicator, such as going offline on social media accounts or deleting accounts frequently. Having the same person around with little to no privacy can also be a sign, especially if you're not allowed to go anywhere alone. Here are some tips to help keep you safe from human trafficking. Trust your gut. If a person or a situation makes you feel uncomfortable, trust that feeling. Talk to someone you trust if you're feeling like a person or a situation is dangerous or suspicious in any way. Block the trafficker and any and all mutual acquaintances. Remember that everything that you post online could find its way back to your trafficker, even innocently. Keep a charged cell phone on you at all times and a list of numbers handy. Set up safety words with trusted people. One word can mean that you're alone and safe to talk, and another word may mean that you're in danger and need help. It's important also to establish what you want these people to do when you say these words. Enable all your privacy settings on social media accounts. Don't share your location unless you have to. Also, remove any geographical check-in points such as Foursquare or GPS tags on photos. Turn off your location services when you're not using your GPS. And always have a backup plan. If you're meeting someone for the first time or someone you're not that familiar with, make sure that you have a backup plan in order to get out of there safely. If any of the information presented today applies to you or someone you know, here are some tips to help. You may notice that some of them overlap with our safety tips, but others are directed specifically at helping someone else in a human trafficking situation. First off, establish safety words. Talk to a trusted adult. Contact the Human Trafficking Hotline. They can help to assess your situation, create a safety plan, and provide referrals. Honor someone's request. Remember that someone going through this is the expert in their own lives, and honoring their request can help ensure their safety. Maintain open and non-judgmental communication. Speak in person whenever possible. Information sent in texts and emails can end up in the trafficker's hands. Remember that the most dangerous time in an abusive situation is when you're trying to leave. Learn more about their own safety concerns and their needs and wants going forward. Do they need shelter, counseling, resources? And lastly, get involved with a human trafficking initiative in your community and advocate for change. As promised, here's a list of community resources that can help support you further. Thank you so much for watching today. Remember to follow us on Instagram at WCS_VPP and visit us at berryshelter.com. Follow our QR code to the Ontario Trillium Foundation survey. Feedback from this survey helps ensure our funding, as well as helps us to continuously improve these presentations for future audiences.